Hey guys, this is Buck Shannon. I'm over here at the Pilot's Lounge at the Flying L Ranch. We're in Bandera, Texas, which is the cowboy capital of the world. And for a number of years, I've been coming over here talking about some of the history here at the ranch. So I wanted to document it and put it here on little tape. And so just to let you know some of the history that's really interesting that we believe. And so here it goes. Well, look, guys, it was Colonel Jack Lapham that started the Flying L Ranch in 1946. His father had been a investor in Texaco Oil, and he invested in the first two oil wells that were drilled for what did later become Texaco Oil. So his inheritance, he became what Life magazine called a Texas oil tycoon. Before World War II, he had a place called Hangar 6 over in Uvalde and trained as many as 10,000 pilots for World War II. And then he went in the Army Air Corps as a pilot and gave up the business that trained the pilots and went into the Air Corps. And so after World War II, he always had a love for flying. And his dream was to have a place that you could come and learn to fly, where you could become an airplane mechanic, and where you could just come and hang out. And his real dream was to have places like that all over the United States. Well, he came to Bandera, Texas with $750,000 with this dream, and between 1946 and 1947, they did the construction on the ranch. There was a north and south runway, an east and west runway, and some of the buildings that are here, he was known to be a friend of Frank Lloyd Wright. And so the buildings that they started out with have a lot of characteristics of Frank Lloyd Wright. He was known for things like windows at angles, buildings that have a lot of angles in them, fireplaces that are centrally located. And I always tell people he was known for flat roofs that leak, and I always say, we've got all of the above here at the Flying L. But anyway, so they did that construction, and in 1947 they had the grand opening of the Flying L Ranch, and they did a fashion show. And he was known for, at that point, for hanging around with a lot of highfalutin people. And so at the fashion show, one of the person that put it on first was Stanley Marcus, and Stanley Marcus had a partner by the name of Neiman. So Stanley Marcus came down from Fort Worth, and he flew down and back to Fort Worth on $8.46 worth of fuel in 1947, and he put the fashion show on. Life magazine came out to do a story on it, and so we have a number of pictures here at the ranch that show the Life magazine pictures. It was in 1947, and I forget what month that was, but we have those here at the ranch. Stanley Marcus put the fashion show on. They built a runway down the middle of the Pilot's Lounge and had this fashion show. Some of the people that were involved in that where one of the judges was Mike Romanoff. Mike Romanoff had a restaurant on Rodeo Drive in Hollywood, California. Clark Gable, Marilyn Monroe, and all the big stars used to hang out there. Another of the judges was Jack Kramer, and Jack Kramer was the world champion tennis player at the time. So a lot of the clothes were representative of tennis playing. They also Western wear that was taken back to Fort Worth and marketed all over the world. So that was the fashion show that was here in the Pilot's Lounge, which is one of the buildings that has a lot of the characteristics, the windows at angles, and fireplace that's centrally located, and it's an oval-shaped roof like a Quonset building, just like the hangar was and is still here. The villas that are close by, they all, from the air, they all face north, and they look a little bit like an airplane because they have the main room, and then off to the sides, which started out with, were screened-in porches, and now they're enclosed because people want heating and air conditioning. So over the years, there were people that came here. We know that John Wayne spent some time here in 1959 when they were filming the movie The Alamo over in Brackettville. So John Wayne, probably some of the other cast and crew, which would have been Richard Whitmark and I forget the other guy's name. Some of those guys, they came over here and they'd do R&R, and whenever they were ready to film again, they'd get back in their planes and they'd go back to Brackettville to do filming. There was a lady on my wagon ride one night said she did a photo shoot with Gregory Peck back in the day. And over the years, we know that one of the Cisco Kid series was filmed here probably back around 1949, because one of the gals that worked here from 49 to 51 said that that's when they filmed one of the series here at the Flying L Ranch. Other people that have hung out here are Willie Nelson. I tell you he doesn't count, though, because he's been everywhere. And Tex Ritter, also Ernest Tubb, or some of the other people that have spent time here. And then later on in the newer Flying L, there's a lot of other stars that have stopped by here and hung out around the campfire. And there's just too many to number. But anyway, come to the Flying L Ranch, you're going to want to see the Pilot's Lounge, as it is very unique in the way that it's constructed. You could buy a full steak dinner here back in the day for $1.40 with all the trimmings, and they always had some kind of event. When you flew in here, you check in the Pilot's Lounge and you get the key off of the door in the closet that's still here, and you get back into your airplane and you taxi it over to your room, because there were tie downs at each room. You know how people, when they have a car and they go somewhere, they want to be able to keep an eye on their car. Well, it was the same way with people that flew here. They wanted to keep an eye on their airplane. There was a gal named Ruth Herr. She rode a horse and buggy from Chicago in 1949, worked here for those 2 years, 49, 50, 51. And her story is interesting. We have a little book here at the ranch that tells her story. Rode from Chicago, was going to Waco, got to Waco, there were 3,000 people waiting for him, because back then everybody listened to the radio, and they were called the Buggy Gals. When they got there, there were 3,000 people waiting for him, but a few days later they said, you know what, we didn't come to Texas to see dairymen and dairy cows, we came to Texas to see cowboys and cattle. So they came to Bandera, and she worked here. They ran a parade when they came into town, and about 4 years ago, I rented a horse and buggy, and Ruth Herr, this gal, one of the buggy gals, was in the parade for a second time, said it was the best day of her life. So there's a lot to see here at the ranch, a lot pictures of the old airplanes that used to fly in here. We started a pilots club that people have joined just so that they can feel like they're a part of the ranch. And so the Flying L, rich in history, and come by, stop by. We'd love to tell you the story, and it's just a great place to hang out. I'm here in the Pilot's Lounge right now looking out the big, huge window, and it looks off to the south, and that's where the breeze comes across, and that's where you could watch the airplanes as they took off and landed. The hangar is still here. The T-hangars, they're still here. The roof is gone, but they're still here. So interesting place. Stop by and see us sometime. Super.